Hey, how you doing, everybody? This is Alfred from Practical Code Academy. In the previous video, we create a simple React app and we installed the Material UI library. And we created this component folder, which is currently empty. In this video, we're going to start with the typography, which is going to be our first component that we're going to use from the React Material library. And we can go to the Material UI library and check the docs for the typography component. So the way that you read the documentation, you have the installation, of course, and you can have these components, which are going to give you examples, how you can use the component, some of the props. So if you search here, they group them as inputs, and all of this are inputs components. Here are data display, where we want to use the typography as a data display component. So the definition here, use typography to present your design and content as clearly and efficient as possible. You can use the typography. Of course, here they asking you to get the Roboto font either by using a CDN or you can install it directly using NPM. But the component itself make it easy to apply default set of fonts, weight, and sizes in your application. You can think about this component like instead of typing H1, H2, H3, you have multiple tags or paragraphs. You can use only one component that will be responsible for displaying text in your screen. Sounds good. If I want to use this component, how can I use it? Well, you have first to import the component from the React Material UI library. To import it and also to know more about the props that you can pass to this component, you're not going to find out this information here inside the components. You need to go and search for the component API here. That's a documentation for every single component. So you can scroll down all the way to the T, where you have typography. Here we go. And you click on it, and it will tell you that you can import it with one of the two ways here. We have two different import statements. You can import it as default. In that case, you can import it from MUI material/typography. However, you can destruct it from MUI/material, which I prefer to use the second method here, because that will be allowing you to destruct multiple components from the same library. However, if I'm using this line here, then every single component I need, I will have a separate import line for it. Again, it's a preference. You can use either or, but I prefer the second method here. And as I mentioned, you can always go and check the props that this component will take. You can align the text if you want to align it to center, align it to left, right, or justify it. It can take classes as an object. You can pass classes. It can take multiple of props, as you can see here. And this is a great place to read the documentation. And I highly suggest that you read the documentation. Okay, sounds good. Let's test this component and use it. So what I will do, since they put this component as a category of data display, I'm going to create a folder here inside my components, and I'm going to call it data display. And this folder will have all the data display components inside it. And in that folder, I'm going to create MUI typography.js. And when programming in React, you can always type in the function where the React functional component from the scratch, but there is a great extension that you can use. And this extension will give you the snippet of like the boilerplate for a simple function. And you can search for it if you just type in React. And it's the first one here. And you can see it's very popular. It have over a 5 million installation. It's called ES7 React Redux React Native Snippets. And this is the one that I'm going to use. Since we want to create a functional component, all you need to type in here, RAFCE. And RAFCE is short for React, Arrow, Functional, Component. And E here is the export of this function going to be at the end. So this is how you get the snippet to work, RAFCE. Once you type it, you'll have the import of React, a simple React function component, and you will notice that this function will have the same name as the file. Beautiful, sweet. And now I can get back to the typography here page, to the API documentation, copy this line to import this component from MUI library and get it to my component here. Great, now I can use it. And to use it, I will create a fragment here because I will use multiple typographies here. And inside this fragment, I will use my first typography. And I can say H1 heading. Save it. So now we have a typography. Between the opening and the closing tag, we have H1 heading. I will go and load this component in my app.js by simply remove this H1 and import my component. I need to import it. So it's going to be imported from, or I can put the name of the function, MUI typography, and you will see that Visual Studio Code will help me to import it from that directory, which is the correct directory. Click on it, and it will be imported. Now I can place my component here with a self-closing tag and save it. To run the application, all you need to do, just type in npm start, and that should run the development server. Here you go. And we have the H1 heading, and it's in the middle of the screen. And the reason for that, because the app.css, I can definitely delete that where it will align the text to the center. I can remove it, but if I remove it, I have to remove the import statement for the app.css. Save that and try to put them side by side for you guys like this. And you will see that we have H1 heading. But this doesn't look like an H1 heading. And the reason for that, the default of the typography, it will print the text inside a paragraph. And you can actually inspect that. Here you go. Now let me put that down. You'll see that the text here, H1 heading, is actually inside a paragraph. And that's the default component or the default tag that typography will be rendered in. Okay, how can I change that? Now I want to view it inside an H1. To change that, you have to use the variant prop. So I'm going to put the variant equal H1. And if you save that, notice that now I have a bigger font, and the font weight is now more thicker. And the reason for that, because the variant is H1. So I can multiply this line multiple times and change the variants. You have 6 variants for the heading, H2, H3, H4, H5, 3, 4, 5. Save that. And you'll see here H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. And of course, we have H6 as well, which is going to be like a very small heading. Again, you have the same tags in HTML, but now you're only using one component to show your text. And now it's become very easy. You can center any of them. So to center any of the text here, all you need to do is just using the align. center. And it will be centered right away. And also you can use another prop here, which is the color. And again, this color, you can put any color you want. For example, I can put red, and it will turn it to red. Or you can use some colors that are from the palette of the theme, because Material UI have a default theme. So they have like a primary color, they have a secondary color, they have multiple colors in their palette. And I'm going to explain in detail that when we cover the palette in the default theme of the Material UI. But for now, let's try the primary color. And you'll see that primary colors look like a Dodger blue. Now let's try the color secondary, which is going to have that purple color. Beside the colors, you can also use a prop that's a Boolean prop, which is called gutter bottom, which is going to add some margin to the bottom of the text. Sometimes if you want to create a heading, you want to add some margin to the bottom. So notice now that H5 will have some spacing underneath it. Beside the 6 level headings, you have also 2 other variants that will be rendered as H6, but they will be the CSS will be look a little bit different. So we have the typography subtitle, and you get this subtitle, and if you inspect it, you will find that it's actually an H6, but the font and the font weight is a little bit different from the regular H6 here. And the next one is going to be the subtitle 2, which is also going to be rendered as H6. However, it's going to have different font weight and font size, which is, as you can see, this one, the font is smaller. However, it's bolded compared to the subtitle one. Now, let's say I want to write a paragraph. You can write paragraphs. And in paragraph, in that case, you can add the typography and then add the text right here. I'm just going to add some text. This is a body text, and I'm going to center it. So I can do align center. And let me put that in the next line like this. And you pass the variant. In that case, it's going to be body 1. So for paragraphs, you have 2 versions of paragraphs. The first one is called body 1, and the second one is called body 2. So I can actually be more explicit here and say body 1 text. Here we go. This is a paragraph, and you can inspect that. You will see it will be rendered inside your DOM as a paragraph. Let's put the body 2. I can copy that down. Now let's change the variant to body 2. And here we put body 2. And you will notice that the font size of the second sentence here is less. It's smaller than body 1. And also you can use, in that case, if you want to add some margins or padding, you can put them right away. And in that case, you can use P for padding to surround the text from the top, bottom, left, and right, or padding top, padding left, padding right. You can also use padding X, which is going to be on the X-axis from the left and right, or padding Y, which is in top and the bottom. In that case, I want to do padding from all the 4 directions, top, bottom, left, and right, and I'm going to give it a value of 2. Here also you can do the same thing, but beside the P for padding, you can use M for margin. So I can use M for margin top, bottom, left, and right, or you can use M top, M left, M right, and MX, and MY, of course. I'm just going to use MT for margin top and I'm going to do 2. There you go. You'll find that there is margin with the size 2. And this 2 here is simply, let's check it. What is it? What the 2 is? So that is the paragraph here. You can always go to the computed value. And we're looking for the margin top, which is right here. So it's 16 pixels. 16 pixels is the number 2 here. If I change it to 3, we'll notice that the margin top is 24. Now, for this paragraph as well, if you check here, the font size is 16 pixels. So body 1 is the default paragraph that you will have in your page, which is 16 pixels. However, for paragraph 2, which is having less font, it's going to be only 14 pixels. So I'll put a note here for you guys. That will be 14 pixels. And for that one, going to be 16 pixels. And of course, you can change the color, you can change the alignment, and you can add the gutter bottom. And it's a Boolean. It's either you put it or not. If you put it, it will add some margin to the bottom. And you can always inspect how much is this margin. So you can inspect, you'll see that we have margin bottom here, which is 8.44 pixels. And if you go to the styled margin bottom, it's 0.35 EM. That means if you use the gutter bottom was H1, it's going to have more margin to the bottom since we're using the EMS unit in that case. Okay, guys, that was it for the typography component. I hope you fully understand it. You can always go and check the documentation for more examples, but I believe this is the simplest component that you can use. Keep in mind that you always need to import a component before you use it. Once you import it, then you can use it. Okay, I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next video where we're going to be covering our second component, which is going to be the button, and how we can use the Material UI button component. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.